All right. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? Good. Well, good morning. If we haven't met yet, I am Brian Tande, and I have the honor of serving as the 20th president of South Dakota Mines. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all here to campus. And we also are joined by quite a few people online as well. So welcome to all of you to the State of the University address. Today, we'll give you an update on where we are, where we're sitting as a university, and we'll also recognize a couple of our important partners as well. So to get things started off, I wanted to introduce you to the rest of the leadership team here on campus. This is our executive council, and we have a number of them here today. So if I could ask them to stand up and be recognized. We have our chief of staff, Jade Herman, our dean of students, Joe DeLugos, our athletic director, Dave Crum, the CEO of CARA, our foundation, Mark Vinecore. And is that it? I think that's it. So welcome to all of you. I'm also joined by part of my family. So I should also recognize my wife of 27 years. We just celebrated our anniversary a couple of weeks ago. And we're also joined by two of our four kids. So our oldest, Lucas, and our youngest, Adriana. So welcome. I don't get the opportunity to embarrass them publicly very often anymore. So, all right. So here's how I framed this presentation: past, present, future. So I'm going to tell you where we've been as an institution and part of our proud history, tell you where we are today, and then let's talk about the future and where we're going. So I've tried to figure out how to kind of summarize, how do I capture all of the years of impact that this institution has had? How do we, how do we encapsulate all of what we've meant to our alumni, the impact that we've had on students, the community, our partners? And this is what I came up with. Kicking ass since 1885. All right. There we go. I think it captures it pretty well. All right, so we've been around for 140 years. And what 140 years it's been. We were founded before South Dakota became a state, back when this was the Dakota Territory. Started as the School of Mines and expanded to a pretty wide range of engineering, science, and technology programs. Higher ed, as you know, is in some challenging times, but we've been through some very challenging times: a depression, world wars, plenty of shifts in industries, a pandemic, all of those things, and we've come out stronger in each of those cases. We've produced over 22,000 graduates, and those graduates have gone on to do amazing things, and they're known for their problem-solving skills, their ability to get their hands dirty and solve problems, and a strong work ethic. And we are considered one of the best returns on investment in the country. So we've kept our costs low and delivered very high value to our students. Really proud of that. I've been a part of a number of universities over the years, and one of the things that really has stood out to me here in these last 7 months are all of the traditions that we have. Traditions are very important on this campus. This keeps us together. It keeps us with a sense of community. Things like our beanies for our first-year students, the frosh lap, the all-school reunion, which we just held last month. We had 1,600 folks here back on campus. Spent a lot of time, revisiting where this institution has been and talking about the future with so many alums. There's a picture of me up on M Hill chugging a beer. I don't know if that's a tradition, but it just felt like the right thing to do at the moment. And of course, we've got our rivalries with our good friends in Spearfish, all right? And all of those are important parts of what we do as an institution. So we want to honor the past, recognize that proud history, as we forge ahead into the future. So we keep those things that are important to us, but sometimes we have to let go of some things in the past. As most of you know, I'm sure, we just opened our new core mineral industries building this past year, and it's a great new space. It houses our metallurgical engineering program, mining engineering, geology, etc. And so a lot of questions have been asked: what are we going to do with the old mineral industries building? And so we were very successful raising funds to build the new building and leveraging some investment from the state. And thanks to those state legislators who are here who helped support that project. But we don't quite have enough money to fund the demolition of this old building. So I have an idea for you that I want to share. So of course, when we have donors to new buildings, we often recognize them with named spaces, classrooms, labs, atria, things like that. And you may not think that's a really good way of fundraising to demolish an old building, but think about this. Say you have an ex-spouse or somebody who has wronged you in the past. What better way to find closure than to put their name on a room in a building and then watch it crumble all around them? Think about it. More effective than therapy, more satisfying than forgiveness. So anyway, think about it. Think about it. All right. So moving on. Oh, this is not working anymore. There we go. Moving on to the present. Okay. So despite all the challenges that higher ed faces in general, we are doing very well as a university. Here's a few numbers. Of course, one of the things that we track most carefully is enrollment. And after dipping a few years ago, we are now on an upward trajectory. And I think that trend, we hope, will continue for the next few years. It's very challenging given demographics across the country to continue to grow enrollment or even keeping our enrollment steady is a challenge. But we're doing well, and I'll share some of our strategies for doing that. If you can see on the map, if you can read that, there's roughly half of our students come from South Dakota and the rest come from outside of South Dakota. Two main areas that we recruit from are the Twin Cities and the Denver area. And those students are choosing Mines because of what we offer, our really a hands-on education. They're able to get into the lab, early on, design and build things. And that's really what attracts them here, along with our small class sizes and lots of interaction with faculty. And given that environment, we have a very high retention rate. So 84% retention is a very good number. It's the highest in the South Dakota system and higher than other institutions I've been part of. So that's something we can be really proud of. And we produce about 500 graduates a year that go on to do amazing things. Our placement of our students is very high. So for students who complete a co-op or an internship, essentially 100% placement. Average starting salary, you can see, is also very high, and that's that very high return on investment that we have. So we are relatively low cost compared to the other institutions that, especially those students coming from Minnesota or Colorado, are looking at. We're much lower in cost and have very good outcomes for our students. 51% of our graduates stayed in South Dakota. I think a year or two ago, that was about 41%. And we're looking to grow that number as much as we can. And I want to track the number of students that stay here in Rapid City and the Black Hills region as well. And I'll talk a little bit later about how we're helping to grow opportunities for students to do that if they choose. Over 100 companies today employ a South Dakota Mines graduate. And so we're proud of the impact that we have on the community here. Here's a snapshot of our top 10 employers from the last year. You can see a lot of familiar names. Caterpillar is a company that we have a very long history with and really deep connections. But there are, if I were to plot it out, there's a very long tail of lots of companies that are coming and hiring students here. So we're proud of what we're able to do for those employers. So I mentioned enrollment. It's obviously a challenge for every institution. And so what we're doing to try to maintain our enrollment or hopefully grow our enrollment is add new programs and find new pipelines of students here to Mines. So we're adding this fall a new bachelor's degree in data science and engineering. We're looking at new programs in the next year or two in robotics and aerospace engineering. Choosing those programs because those are what we hear both from employers and from prospective students about what they're interested in. And then new minors and other things as well. One of the ways that we're trying to find new pathways for students here to Mines is through articulation agreements. And so we've done a really good job the last couple of years of building partnerships with community colleges and tech schools so that students can, for example, complete 2 years at a community college and then seamlessly transfer into Mines and not risk losing any of the credits that they've already completed. And so giving them the assurance that if they start in, say, Gillette or Casper, they can complete their overall degree program in 4 years. And so we've done a number of those, and in a few minutes, we'll recognize another one of those that we recently signed with Western Dakota Tech. So in athletics, we're really proud that our athletes are students first. That's really the mission of Division II athletics. And so we're proud of our 300+ scholar athletes. They're not only great athletes, but they're very good students as well. And I continue to be impressed with all that our student athletes are able to accomplish. And it's been a real pleasure these last 7 months going to basketball games, and I've got to see a football game last fall. I'm looking forward to the start of our football and volleyball seasons, and seeing all the great things our student athletes can do. They go on to win awards, conference awards, All-American awards. I mean, it's really impressive that, for me, thinking back to when I was an undergraduate student, it was all I could do just to keep up with my chemical engineering coursework. To think that, for example, the starting quarterback on our football team was also a chemical engineering student, also did undergraduate research, and was a stellar athlete as well is really amazing to me. We attract some really high caliber people, and really proud of what they do for us. All right, in the area of research is a growing part of our mission. It's grown. I'll show you some numbers here in a second. We've really developed some core areas of deep strength in areas like advanced materials and manufacturing, for example. Deep underground science and engineering. That's an area that includes the work that we do in collaboration with the Sanford Underground Research Facility and Fermilab. Our physics department is very much closely collaborating with those institutions, and it's a real area of strength on campus. In addition, data science, numerical modeling, things like AI, machine learning is a big part of what we do here on campus. Smart and resilient cyber infrastructure, and critical minerals as well. These are areas where we've got groups of faculty and researchers collaborating really well and doing some great work. Here's a graph showing our research awards. You can see over the years how much our research mission has grown. Last year, we hit $30 million in new research awards. So a really impressive number for a campus our size. And you can see our expenditures exceeded 23 million last year. So a growing part of what we do, and we're really proud of the work that all of our researchers do. That work, those $30 million in awards, come from a variety of sources. Most of them are federal sources like the National Science Foundation, the Department of Energy, and the Department of Defense. But then there's a whole bunch of other agencies and industry partners that are funding research on this campus as well. So a very diverse group of funding sources, and you probably have heard of some challenges with federal research funding, but I think in the areas where we operate, we're very well positioned to continue to grow. We tend to do relatively applied research. We do some fundamental research like the physics work that I mentioned earlier, but much of our research is really applied, and we do research to really help promote economic development. So here's some stats here about the number of invention disclosures that are filed on campus. Those are things that it's kind of the first step in the process to getting a patent, where we identify which technologies we want to seek a patent for. That number continues to grow. The number of tech transfer agreements is also up, and I think this is a very impressive number, 25 active inventors on our campus working to commercialize their technology. So those are future startup companies that hopefully will have a presence here in Rapid City and contribute to this economy. Speaking of Rapid City, we're working very closely with Elevate Rapid City, the economic development organization in town, and I think we have at least one person from Elevate here. I've met with them regularly in the 7 months I've been here. We have a lot of great plans. We have a great vision to build out this innovation district, and working really closely with them to help do that. So here's, continuing on that thread, the startup ecosystem that we have cultivated on campus. I've been really happy to see the entrepreneurial culture that we've been able to grow on this campus. So you can see a number of faculty startups, companies that have licensed technology that was developed here, and then a number of companies where we have relationships where they apply for small business grants, and then we're a collaborator on those grants. So those are usually new ideas that we're trying to develop and eventually commercialize. So helping to grow the economy is a big part of what we do. We also have close collaborations with Ellsworth Air Force Base and with the DoD in general. And so we're really happy with the number of opportunities our students have to work with Ellsworth on real problems and real challenges that they face and find solutions to those projects. So that includes a number of senior design projects that our students have worked on, and I'm really happy for the close collaboration with them, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a couple minutes here. So here's just another long list of companies that we have partnered with on various projects, might be student projects or research projects. And this isn't everybody, that would take several slides, but we're really happy to be a partner with so many South Dakota institutions to help them grow and help them develop new technologies and be successful in the future. All right, so we're going to take a break and recognize a few of our partners. So obviously we wouldn't be where we are today without the strong partnerships we have. And a few years ago, we started awarding what we call Community Champion Awards. And so these go, usually we do two, one for a company and one for an individual. And we're going to recognize them right now. So let me start with the RPM companies. So RPM companies support mine students through donation of employee time, company resources, and philanthropic giving. They support technical tours for classes and STEM groups, engineering design projects, camp competition teams, and technical outreach events such as high school summer camp, field trips, and other visits. The three RPM companies are RPM and Associates, which provides wear solutions for heavy industry such as mining and cement power generation by employing automatic welding systems, CNC machining, and creative use of materials. RPM Solutions, which manufactures replacement structural and wear components employed in rotary dry scrubber systems used to remove sulfur from industrial process gases. And RPM Innovations, which designs, manufactures, employs, and sells the laser systems utilized to repair 3D print components for aerospace, rocket, and defense applications. I'm pleased to present this award to RPM founder and president and Mines alum, Rob Mudge, along with Deb Mudge, Sean Vierink, and Nick Wald. Can you all come and join me up here, please? Congratulations. Good. Congratulations. All right. Picture time. All right, so I mentioned earlier the close collaboration we have with Ellsworth Air Force Base. And a lot of the credit for that relationship comes down to one person whose name is Lori Vega. Lori Vega serves as the Deputy Director for the 28th Mission Support Group at Ellsworth Air Force Base. In her current role, she oversees over 1,300 personnel in 6 squadrons, providing civil engineering support, communications, security, logistics, acquisition, and force support. She also serves as the Community Partnership Liaison and was recognized in 2022 as an Association of Defense Communities Champion. She is a key contact on base for organizing projects with the university, providing students an opportunity to apply their technical skills and knowledge to real-world problems at Ellsworth and other military installations. Her work with our campus leaders and a student project has resulted in a business startup currently housed in the D Lab at Elevate Rapid City called Council LLC, owned by Mines alum John Barber. Lori is also instrumental in connecting university resources to the family readiness and education groups on base, providing opportunities for faculty and students to share STEM activities with military families. She also spearheaded organizing STEM activities with several mines academic departments represented during the 2022 air show at Ellsworth, which created wide exposure to thousands of attendees from throughout the region. I am pleased to present this award to Lori Vega. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Yes, thank you. All right. And next, we'd like to recognize one of our recently signed articulation agreements. Very pleased to be joined today by the new president of Western Dakota Tech, Dr. Kendra Erickson. And I'll read the little statement about the impact of this articulation agreement. Western Dakota Technical College and South Dakota Mines proudly announce a new educational pathway that strengthens opportunities for students in our region. Through this partnership, graduates of WDT's Associate of Applied Science in Environmental Engineering program will have a clear, streamlined transfer into the Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering program at South Dakota Mines. This collaboration builds on the strengths of both institutions, combining WDT's hands-on, career-focused education with South Dakota Mines' rigorous engineering curriculum to prepare highly skilled professionals ready to tackle environmental and infrastructure challenges. Together, we reaffirm our shared mission, empowering students, supporting the workforce, and driving innovation for the future of South Dakota and beyond. Dr. Erickson, will you join me up here as we sign this agreement? What's that? Yeah, please. I guess we have some faculty who would like to have a picture. Thank you, Dr. Erickson. All right. So in the last part of this presentation, I'll talk about our future. As I've said, we've got a long, proud history. We're doing generally well in a challenging environment, but we want to grow the impact that we have on this community and on the state of South Dakota. So, and we have some ambitious goals. So from our current strategic plan, we'd like to grow our enrollment to about 2,850. That's growth of around 300 students. We have goals for retention, which if you were paying attention, we've already exceeded. We have a goal to grow research. Again, we've met that goal as well. And we have a goal that we're closing in on to grow philanthropic support. So in addition to the official goals from the strategic plan, I, as a new president, have my own priorities as well. Based on everything I know about this institution, all of the conversations I've had with students and alumni, it's really important to me to maintain our very strong reputation for applied learning, small classes, lots of student faculty interaction and keeping the value of a degree here at Mines as high as it possibly can be. As we've talked about, we've also grown our research mission quite a bit. Balancing teaching and research is an important thing that we need to figure out. And I think most universities are faced with this dilemma. If you focus on research, do you lose sight of the teaching mission? I think we as an institution need to figure out how to do both of those very well. They're both extremely important to the future of this institution. And then working closely with Elevate Rapid City to see this concept of the Innovation District come to reality so that we can create more opportunities for students here in Rapid City to stay here after they graduate. So those are some of our goals and priorities. And if you've been paying attention at all, you know that higher ed is in some challenging times. There are certainly funding issues that a number of universities are facing. Some even those universities that have billion-dollar plus endowments are facing some financial struggles. There's the impact of AI and all of the uncertainty that that creates about what does the future of education look like with AI advancing as rapidly as it has. What are the impact of demographics? You know, those are challenging. The number of high school graduates in this country will continue to fall for the next few years, and that's a challenge for all of the institutions. So a lot of headwinds, I would say. So we've got ambitious goals and a lot of headwinds. How are we going to meet our goals and continue to thrive in a challenging environment? The focus here has to be innovation. Innovating how we teach our students, how we operate as a university, how we engage with industry, doing things new, being at the forefront of new ways of teaching our students and new ways of functioning as a university while staying true to our core strengths, which we've talked about. And so I'm going to talk about a few initiatives that we have that we've just started here that really point the way to how do we continue to thrive in this challenging environment. The first one I'll talk about is our Education Innovation Initiative. And so you might wonder, you know, our students are graduating, they're getting jobs, you know, if it's not broke, like, do we really need to fix it? Well, to me, we do. You know, in this challenging environment where we have AI already having impact on higher ed, we've got a lot of competition from online providers and others. All of those states that I talked about earlier, they're trying desperately to keep all of their students. And the challenging demographics, which I've talked about, we need to figure out a way to differentiate ourselves from all the competition and continue to add something of value that they can't get somewhere else, right? And in my 20 years or so being an educator in engineering, I feel that the study of engineering, so what students do here when they're studying engineering or science, is still quite different than what they do when they leave campus and go work in the real world. So we need to figure out how to bridge that gap. And it's time that we recognize that the things that we have our students do, the ways that we assess student learning, tests, homework, quizzes, are not true measures of their competence as an engineer or scientist. And so we need to figure out how to develop new ways of teaching students and new ways of assessing student learning. And as you saw, one of my priorities is to help promote economic development in this region. I think there's still too big of a gap between industry and academia. And we need to find new ways of incorporating industry partnerships and real world problems into our courses so that we can truly help spur economic growth. So I want to talk to you about, I'll share 3 different models that are out there that I'm asking our faculty to learn about and think about ways that we can incorporate elements of those models into what we do here. So the first is a program that I helped start at my previous institution, University of North Dakota. We started a biomedical engineering program a few years ago, and we decided because it was a new program, we could do something completely different. We did away with the tests, homework, and quizzes and made it all project-based. And we called it innovation-based learning. And in that program, students are required to do something that has value outside of the classroom. So taking an exam doesn't add any value to the world. But going out and working with an industry partner or maybe developing a new technology and starting to commercialize that creates new value for the world. And so in that program, we tried to achieve seamless integration between the academic programs and industry. We had industry partners embedded directly in the program, working closely with our students and faculty and developing new knowledge, new inventions, new technologies. And all based on experiential learning. So this was a model that was successful. It helped us attract, I think, 7 companies. By the time I left, we had 7 companies essentially embedded within the program, and using our students and student projects to help advance the companies. One of the things that we changed was how we described our students. So we used to call them engineering students. We started calling them student engineers. And might seem like a small change, but the point of it is this: when students come here, they should already consider themselves engineers. They may not have all of the skills and knowledge, they might not have the credentials, but they have the engineering mindset, right? They're naturally curious about the world. They want to solve problems. They want to design and build things. They are engineers. And so we call them student engineers instead of engineering students. And that's something that I'd like us to do on this campus as well. 2 other models I want to talk about. One is a program called Iron Range Engineering. This was started up in northern Minnesota about a decade ago. And in this program, this was a kind of a degree completion program where students, after finishing at a community college, would come and spend 1 semester on campus learning about engineering design, learning about professionalism, etc. And then they would have to find an internship. And then for the next 2 years, the rest of the program requirements were completed through an internship. So they would work in industry on real engineering projects. They would take some classes online in the evenings, and they would report back to campus giving presentations on their projects. And through that, through lots of interaction with folks back on campus to assess their learning, they were able to earn a degree in engineering. So this is an innovative program. It's quite different than most engineering programs, but it was ABET accredited and could serve as a model for some of the innovations that we want to do on this campus as well. And then one program that, the last one I'll mention, is called the Greenway Institute. And this is a new engineering program in Vermont that's meant to be completely project-based. And the folks who started Iron Range Engineering helped, I guess, provide some of the inspiration for this program as well. So the point of sharing these things is that there are really innovative things going on out there in engineering and science education. And I want to make this a major initiative here on this campus, to always be pushing the envelope and developing new ways of teaching. Because for the most part, and this isn't just us, this is for all of academia, the way that we teach students is still a lot like how students were taught in the 50s and 60s. So we have faculty in the lab developing really cool, new, innovative things, and then going into the classroom and teaching like it's 1950 again. So a lot of cool things out there. I want us to build on the great experiential learning opportunities we already have on campus and make this a signature part of who we are as an institution. And so we're launching our Education Innovation Initiative. And, I've already talked about the focus there is to help develop new ways of teaching our students and help bridge the gap between academia and industry. All right, speaking of industry engagement, our approach to industry engagement here is that there's a lot of different ways that we work with companies. And a number of folks in the room here have partnered with this institution in a number of ways. And so our approach is, once we have a relationship with a company in one of these areas, so say they come to campus to recruit students, how can we use that connection to a company to then get them to maybe get involved with student projects, or maybe we could provide some professional education to some of their staff in new advanced technologies, or maybe we license them some technology. So we're looking at this industry engagement in a more holistic way and continually finding ways for us to move them from the left to the right along this, from being aware of what we do, maybe connected on some level, to being a strategic partner for this institution. So another one of our goals is just to greatly expand the number of these really strong industry partnerships that we have, especially with organizations in Rapid City and South Dakota. All right. And again, I mentioned the Rapid City Innovation District. This is a big part of our future, we feel, and we're working closely with the city and other partners to help make this a reality. This area to the west of our campus is prime location to attract new companies that want to have a presence close to the source of those 500 students that we graduate every year. Tech companies, engineering companies, and really build out this area to be something special. So it's a big priority of this campus. All right, I want to talk about one other initiative that we're in the process of launching, and this has to do with national security. So we have grown the amount of research that we do with the Department of Defense over the years, and currently up to about over 18 million in active awards with the Department of Defense. So this is a huge part of our research mission, is working closely on defense-related topics. And we work with a number of different Department of Defense entities and a number of companies that do business with the DoD. And so our goal is to take all of this work that we do and try to create a bigger part of our mission as a university being focused on national security. And so, and that includes not only all the research that I mentioned, but also our academic programs. I want to see national security be a bigger part of the brand of South Dakota Mines and really grow all of the impact that we've already had and grow those relationships even further. And so we're having a number of conversations with faculty about what support we can provide as an institution to allow them to grow. And there's a lot of, as you might imagine, a lot of compliance related issues when you're doing work with the federal government, especially in the Department of Defense. So we need to do a bit more to be able to really scale this up. We need to do more to provide support for our faculty to be able to stay in compliance. And so this is another initiative that you'll be hearing more about in the future. All right, so in summary, we have a long, rich history. We've had a lot of impact on our alumni, on this community, and on the world. And we're honoring all of that long tradition here as well, in addition to preparing ourselves for a bright future in a pretty challenging environment. So I want to thank all of you for your partnership, for you being here, and for you being part of our future as an institution as well. And I'll wrap up with just a couple of things. I want you to continue to stay connected. I hope this isn't your last time on campus for a while. We have a number of athletic events coming up with the launch of our volleyball season and our football season. Please stay connected. Please come back to campus and be part of this community here. We also have a number of other ways. Our music program is pretty amazing. Our students, even the scientists and engineers, tend to be pretty talented musicians. And so you'll be impressed if you attend any of our concerts or some of our art and engineering events as well. Rocker Days will be coming up in September. That's essentially our homecoming. There's a lot of activities going on, one of which is the inauguration of this guy. You're all invited. This is the Wednesday of our homecoming week. And it'll be a busy week. So we've got our parade. We invite you to sign up and be part of the parade. They asked me what I wanted to do for my inauguration celebration, and I said I wanted a keg party with a band. And so we're having a concert that night. It's Wednesday the 24th, and you're all invited to that as well. And then we'll finish off the week with football and volleyball games as well. So anyway, don't be a stranger. Please stay connected to us, and hope to see you around campus. Thank you all very much. I'm happy to answer any questions as well. Yes.
Your definition rolling freshman to graduation.
Yes. So retention, as defined by that number that I shared, is first year to second year retention. So students who show up one fall who are here the following fall. So, and 84%, as I mentioned, is the highest in the system. And I think our students tend to be academically strong. So they tend not to leave for academic reasons. They leave because, maybe they weren't sure about engineering and they decided to go on another path, which is still a successful result. We don't want people to be forced to to be engineers or scientists, and we want them to find their own way. So the 16% who find another path, you know, they're off doing good things as well. Yes.
Tough question, but the school mines has always been a very diverse international community of researchers, professors, and students. In the current environment with some of the immigration changes,
Yeah.
do we see any challenges affecting the university, and is there anything that we can do to help?
Sure. I guess I'll repeat the question for the folks online. What challenges are we facing with international students and international collaborations? Certainly there have been some challenges. We have, you know, 100, Jade help me out, 120 international students or so on campus. And we've got a set of growing pipelines from some countries in particular. And over the last 6 months, there have been, you know, like a pause on student visas. There's been certain countries that have been put on a banned list. And so we've been working very closely with every one of our admitted international students, helping them every way we can to get appointments at the embassy, to get a visa, helping them through the process when we're able to. And so far it's been pretty good. I think most of the students that we've admitted have been able to get visas, and hopefully in the next couple weeks, we'll be able to get into the country. So it is a challenge. It's provided, I mean, it's forced us to work a lot more closely with students than we have in the past, but we're still able to bring those international students. You know, we had a growing number of students coming from the country of Ghana. And often they're funded by their government to study mining engineering, and this is obviously a fantastic place to do that. And so I think we had 50 some new students coming in, and we'll see how many of them are able to come, but I think the majority of them will be able to be here. And for those who can't, and maybe things are just delayed, we'll see if we can start them online so that they can start working on their coursework and then get here when they can. So yeah, it has been challenging, but we're working through it. Yes.
So I'm in the from 80s, and I'm really excited about this idea about homework final examination.
Good.
I still wake up full sweats about
Yeah.
nature, algebra, and all the other classes. But on a realistic question here, you mentioned that you're looking for relationships between community colleges and the School of Mines. So I can't imagine how that will affect enrollment if you have students going for 2 years to a community college and then the final 2 years at the School of Mines. I can't understand how that is going to increase enrollment.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So the question is, how do our partnerships with community colleges increase enrollment? And is the question that instead of coming here, they go to the community college first? And
Like
it seemed, yeah. Typically what we're seeing are new students who probably wouldn't have come here in the first place. So you know, a student who goes to a community college in Casper, Wyoming, for example, you know, they're looking at a number of other programs to transfer to after their first 2 years. Maybe it's, you know, University of Wyoming or a Colorado institution. Traditionally, four-year institutions haven't made it that easy for students to do that. I mean, they accept transfer classes, of course, but it's, you know, it's kind of hit or miss. And so what we're doing is providing a very streamlined process so that they can start there in their first year and know for sure that their classes, assuming they pass them, are going to transfer. And then when they get here, they're essentially hitting the ground running. So most of the students who come in through that pathway wouldn't have come here in the first place. So they tend to be, they're new students that we wouldn't have had access to in the past. And then we're spending some time doing outreach at those institutions as well. So we'll go and visit Gillette or Casper or wherever and start getting to know those students and building relationships with the students and the faculty. and kind of spreading the word about this pathway for students. So that typically these agreements aren't cannibalizing our prospective students. They're allowing us to reach students who wouldn't have heard about us or come here in the first place. Mr. Derby.
Thank you, President Tande. Mike Derby, State Representative, and you made a pretty bold statement in your presentation about, I'm going to paraphrase, that the study of engineering is far removed from the practice of engineering.
Yeah.
Statement I saw out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my question is that based on industry feedback from your industry partners when they get somebody and it's like, you know, what they've got is great, but I have to remodel them or whatever, and that's my first question, the industry feedback. Secondly, how is your longtime faculty taking this thought process?
Good questions. All right, I'll repeat the question. So Mr. Derby asked about my bold statement about the practice of engineering versus the study of engineering. I'll address that one first. So for those of you who are alums, I'll pick on you since you asked a question earlier and you made a comment about final exams. How many times in your career did you have to take a final exam? Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, students come here, they learn in a classroom or a lab, and we already do a very good job of providing a lot of hands-on learning. So we're in a better position than most. But if you think about the large institutions, like I graduated from the University of Minnesota, so did my son, you know, huge programs, you're in classrooms with 120 students, you don't get the same kind of hands-on experience. You get a lecture and you demonstrate that you're learning by doing homework assignments and taking exams and giving presentations and that kind of thing. With AI coming along, you know, homework is essentially meaningless. Like you can't trust that somebody actually did their own homework or wrote their own paper. So we need to find new ways of assessing those students. And so that's what I mean by the gap is that, you know, when our students leave here, you know, and hopefully they've gotten some real experience in an internship or a co-op, but they go off in industry and they're not working on canned projects. They're not doing homework. They're hired to solve a problem. And so that's why our academic programs need to be more about solving problems and you know, and with constraints and, you know, learning in a way that's a lot more like what they're going to practice as an engineer. So I've heard that from folks in industry who say, you know, your graduates are great, but we need to, you know, retrain them in these things, or from alumni who said, you know, even after I graduated, I felt ill prepared to go out in the workforce and actually be an engineer or a scientist. So that feedback, and I'm not talking specifically about mine, just over the course of my career, I've heard that repeatedly. So your question is, how are faculty taking that message? We have a lot of faculty doing a lot of innovative things already, and they're happy that this is going to be a major part of what we are doing moving forward. Some faculty, you know, will need to adjust the way they do things, and we'll need to help provide them some resources for thinking about new ways of doing things. And so two of the programs that I mentioned, the innovation-based learning program from UND and the Iron Range Engineering, the founders of those two programs I've already had here on campus working with faculty and department heads, just kind of talking about new ways of doing things. One of the, I don't know if it's a dirty little secret, but perhaps that's one way to describe things in academia. And I'm an example. I went to graduate school, got a PhD in engineering. I think I was a TA for a semester in a lab, but nobody taught me how to teach. And then I started as a professor and just kind of thrown into it. Like, oh, here's some course materials from the previous instructor. You know, some universities provide differing amounts of mentoring to new faculty, but nobody's really taught how to teach. And so, you know, a lot of faculty are in a position where They're just doing what, they're teaching the same way that they were taught. And again, I just want to create a culture on campus where people are challenged to think differently, to do things differently, and have the freedom to try new things and take risks, and not fear that, if I tried this and it didn't work, now, I'm not going to get promoted, or I'm going to get a bad evaluation. We need to figure out how to promote those kind of activities, and some things will work and some things won't. But I think generally, though, our faculty are receptive to that message. Yes.
Hi, 70s.
Mm.
Years. I was told that the way, they didn't hire me for my degree, they hired me for the way I was taught to think, or problems, solve things. So that's just kind of a little background, but I wanted to know if you have any kind of outreach to the elementary, high school level kids to get them excited about science, because it shouldn't be dumb, boring, and stupid. It should be exciting, curiosity. You guys do anything like that?
We do, yeah. So the question is, what do we do in terms of outreach to K through 12? And yeah, we do a lot of things. We have quite a wide variety of summer camp opportunities, and we had hundreds of kids here on campus this summer in essentially all parts of what we do here: engineering, science, geology, paleontology, exposing them to those fields and career opportunities. And then we visit a lot of classrooms and talk to students about opportunities in science and engineering. We invite students here, like we host a big science fair, and we host a big math competition, and all of those are opportunities to get students excited about engineering and science.
Classrooms, become mini scientists. That's
Yeah.
where they get excited.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
we do a number of those things. I want to do more. I think, with the challenges with enrollment, we need to do more of those things, but it's a good question. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Big question. I'm not an engineer, but we have a lot of family history with engineers in my family, but I met you at one of the meetings that I knew you were different in a good way. I liked when you talked about working with Western Dakota, you followed through. I think it's a great opportunity for people to understand engineering and then come into the process. I like the whole thing with innovation. I'm just excited. Like I said, I'm not an engineer, but how you're doing your things and thinking outside the box is going to be huge for growing South Dakota School Mines. So I applaud you on what you're doing, and I'm pretty excited to see how far you go, because it's going to be a huge process, but I think in the long run, it's going to make School Mines even bigger than what it is with your thinking outside the box. So thank you, sir, for the presentation. Like I said, everything you were doing, everything you were saying was straight up. So that's going to make a huge difference for our community and School Mines. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I did not pay her to say nice things about him. I'll assure you. Yes, Ron.
Two comments. Yours? Okay. Summer, words, stuff. We get our. They get in and see what engineers do and see what the trades guys. They see what the engineers and trades guys do, they get excited. And so they do that, and now, like Brian says, you can do more, but we do that already on at least on our side, a pretty large scale. So but we're not in a classroom. Classroom is a junior achievement stuff that we get them excited about. But anyway, so that's that one. And then Dave, yours, I have a grandson that's going to community college for 2 years, wants to get that for a number of reasons. And then his goal is to come back here and get a degree. And so that program would fit him exactly. And he would not go there. He would not come here first. So there are examples out there that I agree with what Brian says, is there are students that would not normally come here first. And maybe he gets done with that 2-year degree and says, well, I don't think an engineer is what I want to be. I want to be a tradesman. So I think we're a real example of that program. So yeah.
Jim. Yeah. Yeah. So very good question. The question was, in that pie chart of all of our research funding sources, private companies were a pretty small slice of that. And how can we grow that? And the innovation-based learning approach is one way of doing that. Getting a closer relationship with industry partners, especially startups who want us to help them develop new technology. Getting them involved in the classroom, working directly with our students and faculty is a great way to do that. I think that's probably a stronger approach to growing industry-funded research than maybe going after some of the big Fortune 500 companies. They tend to already have good relationships with other universities, but we can start with smaller companies and startups and help promote that culture on campus and growing those relationships. And again, I think the missing ingredient has been academic programs that are really well aligned with economic development. Again, they've been too far removed. You know, we produce graduates that they hire. Let's get academia and industry working more closely together from the beginning. I think that's a win-win situation, and that'll help us grow industry-sponsored research. So, thanks for the question. Tim. Yeah, so the question is, how do we use AI to our advantage? Our students are already using it. Our faculty are using it. Our staff are using it. I mean, I use it constantly. I think who can predict the future? I don't know. My prediction is that AI super intelligence isn't going to be here anytime soon, but AI is really good at specific tasks. You know, like taking a large amount of text and summarizing it, pulling out the themes, or helping you create a first draft of a document, those kind of things. You know, we created some guidelines last winter about AI use on campus, and you know what the expectations are for our faculty using it and our students using it, and our approach generally is to embrace it. You know, you need to, you know, when it comes time to demonstrate that you're learning something, you have to, you know, you can't turn in AI generated, you know, papers or research reports or anything, but we can use it in the ways that it helps make us more productive. What AI will mean for the practice of engineering and science, I don't know. It's already doing some really interesting things from a design standpoint. And, you know, I want our students to use it and our faculty to use it so that they can stay on top of what it's actually capable of being used for. But I don't see it replacing most engineering jobs in the near future. But I think engineers are going to have to be very proficient with the use of these AI tools. So that's my philosophy. Again, can't really predict the future, but we'll see. Adriana, you have to ask a question. All right. So Adriana is going to be a senior next year and is visiting schools. And so part of this presentation was my sales pitch to her to come here. So when we hold this event next year, we'll see if I was successful or not. So Tyler.
Question. Other than partnering with the Elevate, what other opportunities are we looking at to keep graduates in Rapid City and the Black Hills?
Good question. So the question was, other than partnering with Elevate, how do we keep our graduates here in the Black Hills? I think getting them involved in the community and getting the community involved on campus. You know, I shared a number of ways for community members to be on campus and interacting with people on campus, our faculty, staff, and students. I think making our students feel welcome here, and you know, it's a fantastic place to live, but if our students just come here, live in the dorm, take their classes, and then go back to, you know, Colorado or Minnesota, they're missing out on a lot of opportunities to learn about this fantastic place to live. So I think there's opportunities for people in the community to make our students feel like a member of the community and not just a temporary visitor to our community.
Can you include more on that innovation district heading west to downtown?
Sure. So more details on the innovation district. So yeah, if you notice, if you've you notice a number of vacant lots to the west of campus, between our foundation and the city and others, like there's been an accumulation of property in that region between campus and Fifth Street. And, there's certainly opportunities to revitalize that area. And so we're working on a project right now. Can't really say a whole lot at the moment, but working with an engineering company that wants to have a presence here in Rapid City. They don't currently have a presence, but the fight for talent is a real challenge for a lot of companies. And so coming here, being right next to campus, being able to not only employ our students in the summer, but keep them employed through the academic year and keep that relationship, there's a real value to that for a number of companies. So we're hoping to find a lot of similar companies that want access to the 500 smart, talented graduates we produce and get connected to our programs earlier on in the program so that they can build those relationships and eventually hire them. So there's a lot of space to develop. There's a lot of need for companies to hire scientists and engineers. And so between those things and the plans that Elevate has for that district, I'm hoping in the next 5 years we see some real solid movement in that direction and a number of companies established here. So I'm excited about it. All right, I think you're all worn out and ready to leave. So let me just thank you all again for being here. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for being a great partner to South Dakota Mines. We are a much better institution with all the partnerships that we have across this community. So thank you so much. And again, don't be a stranger. I hope to see you back on campus again soon. Thank you.